Now, across Texas, the issue is.
I'm Rudy Koski in Austin.
I'm Greg Krugen in Houston.
And I'm Stephen Dial in Dallas, and this is Texas, the issue is.
The first big floor debate under the Texas Capitol Dome may take place this week, now that a Senate committee has pushed forward SB 2. In the hearing a few days ago, we learned how this new attempt at school choice is a beefed up version of a plan that failed to clear the House 3 times in 2023. I spoke to a school choice advocate who supports SB 2 and an advocate for small government about what's being pitched.
I think this absolutely will be the year. Not only has the governor come out very strong again, the lieutenant governor is very strong again. The speaker has said and has been a supporter of school choice vouchers and ESA programs for a long time. So I think we've got good support. We have more numbers in the House, and that's where it failed last time.
It's not a voucher, it's an education savings account that's not just political terminology designed to sound better.
It's a very limited group of people who are going to be able to cash in on this.
Of course, with 6 million students in public schools in Texas this year, there's no program you could introduce that would help all of them out of the gate. The good news is all the statistics show that if even 5% in an area take up school choice, the public school actually improves.
I don't think it makes education better.
Why is this not the right plan?
Mainly, it grows government. It allows our government, our comptroller, it gives our comptroller a lot of control, probably too much control. It looks, in my opinion, it seeks to profit a very small group of people.
I think we're going to have a witness that says that today that all 6 million students in Texas should receive a $10,000 ESA immediately. That's a $53 billion funding effort for 1 year.
Are you surprised that this is coming from a group of people who claim to be fiscally conservative?
Yes, those words don't mean much to me. Unless you're cutting waste and cutting expenses, then you're not a fiscal conservative.
The wonderful thing in school choice is parents and kids will have that choice.
It really isn't school choice where it's 100% universal, my tax dollars following my kid. Why not push that?
Well, we can, of course, always shoot for even more and even better. But this is universal in that any Texas school kid
but it's
is
limited.
eligible.
It's not universal, James.
Well, it's limited in terms of the amount of money that is committed.
When it gets to the House, is there a compromise that will make you support this kind of idea?
I would have to see the language because they always muddy it up. I definitely would lean toward a bill where your property taxes that you pay follow your child.
It all depends on the number of applications. So if we have a significant number of people who apply to go from a public school to homeschooling, that will just mean tens of thousands more Texas kids can be in the program.
This bill would also allow tutoring with the money, supplies, even clothing. Are you worried that this $1 billion could be just nickel and dime away?
There are controls. It's limited to a certain amount for each kid. But the other good news is it's not just tuition, which is why this is not a voucher program. It really is an ESA. It applies to other things. But we, as taxpayers, of course, want to make sure it goes to things that matter for school.
The bill is so bad in so many ways. It's hard to say what would be better.
Interesting discussion there. Reboot, rewrite, redefine, hoodwink, those are all the words that come to my mind for this new school choice plan. But now that we know SB 2 isn't truly universal school choice, I'll go with Chevette. Greg, what's your word?
Rudy, I'll go with the term prototype.
Stephen, give us a word.
I'm just going with settle.
Well, okay, the Texas Trio will be back in a moment to discuss round 4 of the Texas school choice fight. Welcome back. We're talking about how the Republican-controlled state Senate is on the verge of pushing out SB 2. It's legislation that is not truly the universal school choice plan that Governor Greg Abbott has called for. In our interview, James Dickey with Liberty for the Kids noted that SB 2 has a section that provides about $200 million for limited universal school choice. That's an important point considering in a poll released by the Tuesday by the University of Houston Hobby School of Public Affairs, almost 70% in the survey saying they support ESAs that benefit all parents, as in universal, not SB2. Stephen, there's an indication that voters in is there an indication that voters in North Texas have noticed the difference that the majority of Texas students will never get to tap into SB2?
Well, the reason why I use the word settle is because you mentioned this is going to be the fourth time that Texas lawmakers are trying to push this through, and so they're going to get something through. We talked in the Capitol a couple of weeks ago about the devil being in the details. We'll see how many things that certain chambers will settle on. In North Texas, where we have a large swath of Democrat House members, but also Republican House members. This is really going to be what are the Democrats going to try to just fight to make it a little more watered down. $800 million of that $1 billion plan is dedicated to those who are in special needs, and also those who are low income. Royce West from Dallas County tried to punch a lot of holes into that, saying it's not truly for low income. So we'll have to see how this sorts out, but I'm pretty sure it'll pass the Senate as is.
Yeah, I think it's going to pass the Senate too. $1 billion to help less than 100,000 students. I used the word Chevette earlier to describe this redefined SB2. It's like getting a sales pitch to buy a hot rod vet, but then the seller pulls up in a Chevette. That's a big difference. As Senator Braden Creighton said during last week's hearing, don't call it a voucher, it's an ESA. Greg, the fiscal conservative in our interview, Jennifer Fleck, considers SB2 big government. What are conservatives in Houston saying?
Rudy, conservatives in Houston point to facts, as in the fact a majority of Texans want some form of school choice, as in the fact Texas Governor Greg Abbott has made choice a personal and political crusade and has actually increased his popularity during the process, as in the fact that a majority of urban African-American parents favor choice and the opportunity to escape failing unsafe campuses, as in the fact that statewide testing indicates many Texas public schools haven't restored student academic loss 3 years past the pandemic, as in the fact that Texas has a $24 billion surplus plus a $27 billion rainy day fund and the real prospect of getting billions back from the feds for border security, as in the final fact that Donald J. Trump supports school choice at both the state and federal level. In other words, what better time to launch a prototype school choice program with the actual scope to be hashed out by a Republican-run legislature?
That's a fact, Jack. Another fact, SB2 clearly is only a dressed-up version of the Senate plans that failed in 23. Senator Royce West, Stephen, you mentioned this, a Democrat from Dallas admitted SB2 is probably going to be heading to the House, but first, it's going to be that floor debate on the Senate floor. Have you heard any amendments that West is going to offer, Stephen?
I haven't heard specifically what he talked to Chairman Creighton about changing that threshold when it comes to who qualifies as a low-income household. But there are going to be a lot of amendments. I just think at the end of the day, the Senate's going to pass it out clean because they don't want anything to change from this that has already been negotiated in back rooms. Now, the real amendments are going to be the main event in the House because, the House is not just going to take a Senate version of the bill, right?
Right. But clearly there's several new members in the House who support the idea of universal school choice. Governor Greg Abbott has said he's got the votes now to send a school choice bill to his desk. Clearly, there were political repercussions this past November for not voting for a plan in 23. Greg, have you heard any rumblings about the possible voter pushback against lawmakers who will now vote for a large budget item but limited school choice plan?
Rudy, you know our Texas political map. I mean, our districts are so thoroughly gerrymandered that Republicans control some, Democrats control others. We know how Democrats stand on the issue of school choice. I don't think there's going to be any pushback because that's all been decided in this last round of primaries, and Greg Abbott won that battle.
You can see all our interviews, this one and the past ones, by going to our YouTube pages.
And please keep the conversation going by reaching out to us on social media.
Governor Greg Abbott has had his State of the State and laid out his emergency items. We'll discuss that when you join us next week. And don't forget to let us know what you think the issue is.